I had a brother. His name was Pietro.
He was killed by Ultron.
What did you say?
All right, I'm gonna get straight into it. I've been watching the show WandaVision on Disney Plus. It's a new TV show by Marvel, the MCU, aka the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's the beginning of their Phase 4, which starts a whole brand new saga. The one previously ended the Phase 3 with Avengers Endgame, so this is a direct follow-up of that movie dealing with the story arcs of Wanda and Vision. Now, if you don't know their story arcs, Wanda and Vision separately, it's kind of important to know that their arcs a little bit to know what's kind of going on in the TV show. Other than that, you're gonna be pretty lost. I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of their story arcs. Vision, his is pretty simple. His is he was created by Ultron and Avengers Age of Ultron movie. He was originally supposed to be a body for Ultron. What happened was Thor helped Tony Stark and Bruce Banner put Jarvis, which was Tony Stark's old AI, into the new body, which is Vision, and it became Vision once they activated it with the Mind Stone. Ever since then, he's been doing was helping the Avengers and pretty much evolving as more of a human character. He's an android trying to be human. Wanda's her backstory is, as far as the MCU shows, is Wanda in the MCU. She's from Sokovia with her brother Pietro Quicksilver, who they were in Sokovia. Their parents died and they were eventually orphaned, who then were found by this guy named Strucker, who worked for Hydra, who then experimented on them with an Infinity Stone. He experimented on them. It awoke abilities that were already inside of them, basically hinting at mutants, which is something that hasn't been in the MCU up until because Marvel hadn't owned the rights. Wanda, after that, her story arc goes from being an almost villain in Age of Ultron, helping Ultron almost destroy the world, to eventually siding with the Avengers to defeat Ultron. And during that process, Pietro, her brother Quicksilver, died while saving Hawkeye. So she lost her brother, she lost her family up until that point. She was saved by Vision, so they started to develop a romantic relationship, leading all the way into the end of Avengers Endgame. They were already established at that point. They were together, fully together. And then by the end of Endgame, everyone knows Thanos was throughout the movie, and Thanos was collecting all of the Infinity Stones, and he was successful. And one of the Infinity Stones was inside of Vision's head, and he ripped it out. So technically, at the end of Avengers Endgame, Vision is a dead character, a lifeless android that isn't the same, who shouldn't be the same as he was before. Boom. From this point on, it's gonna be spoiler warnings, because I'm gonna be talking about what's in the show first, so you can get an idea of how the show's going, and then I'm gonna pretty much pick from there afterwards what I feel like could be a connection of how mutants are going to become into the MCU, or going to come into the MCU. And why do I say that? Because Marvel now owns the rights to all of mutants, all of Fox, which was the reason why they never had them in the MCU before. So now that they have them, they're trying to slowly seep them in. So far, it's been a few years since that major deal, and they needed a cooling period of not using any X-Men characters, period, in order to reboot them from what the Fox universe was. This new Phase 4, beginning with WandaVision, everyone knows she is a mutant. Everyone knows she is a part of that. So everyone thinks that this show is going to lead into the reason why some mutants actually exist in the MCU currently, even though we haven't heard of from all these years. But I'll explain that. It's only been up to 3 episodes at this point, and I'm gonna get through them really fast because they're only 30 minutes a piece, so it isn't much to talk about. But you can still talk about some stuff that's happening, because they're treating it like an actual TV show, as if it's some kind of sitcom. But between episodes 1, 2, 3, you start out as a 60s sitcom all the way up until episode 3, where it's more like a 70s sitcom, and things come into color. Everyone in the show generally seemed confused so far, except for Wanda herself, she is controlling all the people who in that particular pocket reality she created. She's controlling every single one of them. The only other person I noticed who isn't fully almost confused with something is the character Agnes. She's Wanda's friendly, super friendly neighbor that who shows up in the very first episode. Through the episodes, there are a few instances where people snap out of the spell they're under and start to question what's going on. And as soon as that happens, Wanda realizes it and then focuses, and then like out of nowhere fixes the situation. Either rewinds or it just blips, and then it's just boom, fixed. So it's like subconsciously she knows she is living in some false reality, but really wants it to be real. So she's trying to ignore the reality versus the new one she's just created. This is how you know things ain't right. There's a crash outside of Wanda's house up at the beginning of the second episode after her and Vision start practicing for like some magic show that they're trying to perform. And right when Vision leaves, she hears a crash. So she goes outside and checks for it. And next thing you know, she sees the helicopter. It's a red helicopter. It's red and orange, actually. It's like literally the exact same colors as Iron Man's colors. And I'm like, damn, so why the hell is this out of color? She's looking at it. She's focused. She's realizing something. It's almost like she's thinking like somebody's trying to come after her, come breaking in. But you won't really realize that till you really see the third episode. And another weird thing happens. So it's this character named Dottie. She's like I don't know, some other character in Westview where they're living at in this TV world. They get into like a little argument to the point where Dottie realized, like, started hearing things. They start talking and arguing about something to the point where Dottie starts to get suspicious and starts telling Wanda that she knows who she is and she knows why they're there. And then Wanda is trying to defend herself by like, we're not here to hurt nobody, but she act like she doesn't know what Dottie means, which I'm confused because I still don't know what she could have meant. But then out of nowhere, you hear it on the radio thereby that, Wanda, are you okay? You hear somebody speaking through the radio trying to like get her. So she starts to focus and zoom in on that like she did with the helicopter earlier, just looking at it hard and trying to figure out who the hell is it or what's happening. And out of nowhere, she freaks out, I guess, and Dottie breaks a cup in her hand and the radio explodes, and then she starts bleeding real red in the black and white world. But then around, I'll say, was it the second? It was the third episode when Vision starts to question some weirdness. Like out of nowhere, he's outside talking. I think he was talking with Herb and someone else, and like he starts noticing they're acting weird, and he starts to focus and think like, wait a minute, something's not right. So he questions it. He walks in to the house and starts talking to Wanda and being like, things aren't right, something's happening weird. And then next thing you know, it blips. It like you don't even get a rewind. It just like cuts into a rewind scene, like where he cuts into a scene where he just re-walks into the door and changes his whole dialogue into, you know, just comforting Wanda, which is weird. And it's like, whoa, what the hell? So she instantly, it's like obviously somebody's controlling and resetting up this little reality and trying to keep it going for Wanda, or Wanda's trying to keep it going for herself. Who knows? It's like, if you think of it as her doing it, it's almost like Wanda created a reality where her and Vision are alive and happy, and that the Avengers and super people don't exist in this world. So in this reality, she spends a lot of time trying to hide the powers from the people in this area that she's mind controlling. Wanda also gets pregnant at the end of the second episode, and by the beginning of the third episode, her belly is even bigger, so time is going by pretty fast. Just fast forward, she has her kids. She's there with this lady named Geraldine, who also showed up at the end of the second episode for her magic show and just was generally confused. You don't even know where she came from. But then this episode, she starts to come back around, and and she helps Wanda give birth to her new twins, Billy and Tommy, who are actually characters from the comic books as her twins that she actually had during her, a comic run, which I'll explain. Like she has her babies. She starts to get a little emotional, like, and starts singing an old Sokovian song, and almost her accent that she had during Avengers Age of Ultron, which you haven't heard in years, is like she just got more Americanized in the movies over the years up until now. But she starts singing the Sokovian song, and Geraldine is there listening. She starts to like go into some kind of trance. Like she starts to reminisce about her brother Quicksilver, who has not been mentioned in any movie of any Marvel movie since the Age of Ultron when he died. So bringing him back up is pretty huge in my opinion, because it's like, well, why did Pietro, Quicksilver, why would you bring him back up if he might not make a reappearance? Maybe, even though he's technically dead, but that's kind of crazy. She mentions Pietro and how she used to have a twin brother. Geraldine starts to snap out of her little spell that she might be in, and like remembers something. She starts to say, Pietro, he was killed by Ultron, and then that triggered Wanda, and Wanda like was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" But at this time, Vision is outside talking to the neighbors and trying to get information about, because he once again starts to notice weird things that are happening. So he is once again asking questions, trying to figure it out. You know, him being Vision, he wants to know. He's got to know. So then out of nowhere, that gets weird with them outside, and Geraldine and Wanda, while being inside, Wanda gets pretty much pissed off about her mentioning what actually happened to Pietro, because she shouldn't know that according to Wanda. But Wanda realizes someone finally infiltrated her bubble. They basically broke in, and now they're next to her, trying like they've been trying to get so close to her throughout the episodes, from when the B guy shows up in the sewer, and then that gets rewound to the radio thing. You start to hear someone trying to connect with her, and then now this moment where Geraldine gets right next to her talking about Ultron killing Pietro, so therefore trying to make her snap out of her thing. But what they don't realize is Wanda knows exactly what's going on. She, out of everyone in the show, once again, she is not confused. She knows exactly what's going on. It may have seemed like that in the beginning, but she must be in some trance where she's doing this to herself, but also with a little manipulation from another source, probably. But she ejects Geraldine out of the reality up into the current MCU real world, where everybody's like out there. Cops start showing up where her body flew to, and then they pick her up. Boom. And that's every episode so far. So basically, Wanda's still in the little pocket reality that she created. That's created. So at the end of the episode, you start to see that, Wanda seems like she knows what's going on. She wants it. She just had her kids. She's having a nice life with Vision, and then some people are trying to take that away from her. And then this is the first time at episode 3 that you notice that Wanda actually basically blatantly wants to stay there, because if Geraldine said what she said, Wanda should have snapped out of whatever she thought, or control, if she is being controlled, but she isn't. So she knew what was going on. So she's trying to keep this new reality, because she don't want to go back to the old reality where she doesn't have anything, and where everybody's dead, and it's just heartbreak everywhere. Now that's just the episodes. My theory now: how is the show going to lead into the future of the MCU with the introduction of the mutants, and how all that's going to be about? What make this show more dope though, if Doctor Strange showed up at the end trying to be like, "Hey Wanda, what the hell's going on?" Like, he senses those threats. Out of all the characters that we've been introduced to, Doctor Strange is the only one who goes against supernatural people, like like beings, like demons, gods, and that you just can't see right there. They just start manipulating shit. So he gets detected when something happens like that in our universe. So obviously, if our universe is getting jacked up right now by Wanda in this little pocket, and whatever she does by the end of the series, there's a good chance it's gonna get on Doctor Strange's radar, and Doctor Strange is gonna be like, "Hey, what the fuck?" And then he's gonna go fly towards her, maybe calm her down, because that's what Doctor Strange can do. He can actually calm her down. She knows how to do some type of magic, helps her control her skills better, and maybe he takes her somewhere to protect her at the end of the series, and whatever. And then Doctor Strange opens up with the multiverse of madness, which is the multiverse of madness. It can be anything, and yet I have not yet looked into what comics that might be based off of, but still, it's gonna be nuts. How the show connects with bringing the mutants to the MCU. She already has this pocketed reality, so there's a good chance it's in this pocket of reality. It's in a particular city called Westview. If that reality exists on our planet within that little pocket, and it's affecting those people, so it can expand eventually, therefore affecting a lot of people, to the point where maybe even further into the series, as Wanda tries so hard to protect that reality from the outside, that she's like, instead of having maybe just that little piece, it can expand, and then start affecting everybody, especially now in the multiverse. How the mutants are gonna come in is maybe through either an alternate reality that Wanda possibly creates, because her show does lead into the multiverse of madness. So eventually, when her and Doctor Strange gets together, he starts to try to help her. That she starts to go so crazy, she starts to literally make multiple different realities on our one Earth, like within this one planet. And you just start, so you can start walking from dimensions to dimensions possibly. As she goes nuts, she starts to create these fake realities that seem real but only under her control. So as long as she's still around and existing, then this is gonna exist, or until she snaps out of it and becomes normal. But the X-Men, like, they're not gonna come from our planet. I think they're gonna come from like another dimension where she went to this reality over here after abandoning another reality to try to find happiness. So she's like on the run almost, and she's just creating new realities along the way. And she creates a couple that happen to create mutants, which then you start to get like new mutants, or just any type of character that just has abilities out of nowhere on planet Earth. I know people are thinking they want to see like Wolverine, Xavier, Magneto. I mean, they'll come in, I think, eventually, especially through an alternate universe, because those characters are so goddamn old, and people have been recycling the X-Men stories for so long that I got a feeling that in the new Marvel universe, that's the base X-Men that are going to exist in the current timeline would be maybe younger mutants, way younger than Cyclops, way younger than them, but you'll probably meet like Cyclops and them maybe from an alternate reality that happens to get pushed over here. Like, for instance, in the comics, the X-Men can't live without time travel. They're always going back to their younger selves, and like, for instance, like even Cyclops himself, a young version of Cyclops was brought to the modern day timeline. They went back and got younger Cyclops because the older one was so nuts that they felt like the younger one would be able to defeat him. So when they brought him back, so there's a good chance you're just gonna they're gonna exist, but as in like drawn from other realities put into our universe. That's how I feel like they'll come in somewhat, especially with Doctor Strange dealing with the multiverse of madness. He's gonna have to find ways to keep these multiple realities completely separate from each other, or whatever. I mean, a lot of these new shows are gonna be dealing with the multiverse, like Loki. He's going around with the TVA, Time Variance Authority, stopping fucked up things that's happening in time, keeping the timelines the way they should be. So a lot of the Phase 4 shows and movies are going to be beginning with this, which makes me think that the Black Widow movie is definitely going to have some type of end credit scene that has something to do with a multiverse or something. Like maybe Natasha, maybe Black Widow, she's actually not dead. I mean, she does pass the mental, but maybe at the end of that movie, you start to realize maybe an alternate universe Black Widow is gonna somehow bounce back to us. I'm gonna wrap this up right now because I want to make another video right after this, because the 4th episode came out, and that episode is ridiculous and deserves its own video. So what I'm gonna do is try to make breakdowns of every episode of WandaVision. As long as y'all are watching it with me, I'm gonna be watching. I'm gonna be making videos trying to break it down, make it simpler and more understanding and cool. I guess with every episode also I'll try to maybe progress my theories or whatever, but right now all WandaVision is doing is setting up it's setting up a lot for the future of the Phase 4, like multiverses, but also it's going to be setting up mainly with her with mutants, like, because that's her direct thing, and then she's a mutant, so it's going to set up more mutants. And then you got like the other TV shows coming out, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then Loki. I mean, all those shows are gonna be coming out too, but having their own little thing to building up the future of the MCU. So we'll see. But right now, we're dealing with WandaVision and how more Easter eggs are gonna be coming out about more connections with Doctor Strange and the future of the X-Men. Thanks for listening, and I hope y'all liked it, and hope to see y'all next time. Peace.